I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, and this is a breaking news alert. Special Counsel Jack Smith has brought Donald Trump's son-in-law and former senior advisor before the criminal grand jury in Washington, D.C. that is investigating Donald Trump's 2020 election interference. According to a new New York Times article, Jared Kushner went before the criminal grand jury in Washington, D.C. last month. He was asked numerous questions, but specifically about his impressions about whether or not Donald Trump knew that he lost the 2020 election. It seems like a ridiculous question to even have to ask, because it is. And I think Jared Kushner gave a equally ridiculous answer if the reporting is correct. And Jared Kushner told the grand jury that it was his impression that Donald Trump was not aware that he lost and truly believed that there was fraud, and that was the reason that he lost. I believe Jared Kushner is clearly lying to the grand jury there, and I'm going to show you some video of Jared Kushner in just a moment to prove why I believe Jared Kushner is lying. But first, let me show you the article that just came out by the New York Times. It says, prosecutors ask witnesses whether Trump acknowledged he lost 2020 race. Jared Kushner was questioned before a federal grand jury as prosecutors appeared to be trying to establish if Donald Trump knew his efforts to stay in power were built on a lie. I should mention as well that Trump hired two independent firms to conduct surveys about whether or not he lost and whether or not there was election fraud that changed the outcome of the election. And both of these surveys, for which Trump's organizations or his political action arms spent close to $1 million each, both said there was absolutely not election fraud capable of overturning the election. This was a safe and free and fair election. So Donald Trump clearly has the requisite intent by that alone, and also just by common sense. But let's go into this article. It says, federal prosecutors investigating Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election have questioned multiple witnesses in recent weeks, including Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, about whether Trump had privately acknowledged in the days after the 2020 election that he had lost, according to 4 people briefed on the matter. The line of questioning suggests prosecutors are trying to establish whether Donald Trump acted with the requisite intent, the requisite knowing element, the mens rea element of a crime. The article goes on to say Kushner testified before a grand jury at a federal courthouse in Washington last month, where he is said to have maintained that it was his impression that Trump truly believed the election was stolen, according to one of those people briefed on the matter. The questioning of Kushner shows that the federal investigation, being led by Special Counsel Jack Smith, continues to pierce the layers closest to Trump as prosecutors weigh whether to bring charges against Donald Trump for trying to overthrow the 2020 election. Remember, Jared Kushner testified before the January 6th committee, and Jared Kushner told the January 6th committee that both he and Kevin McCarthy told Donald Trump that mail-in voting was not fraudulent. In other words, Donald Trump knew that one of his baseless claims of election fraud, that there was mail-in voting, was not a basis to claim that the election was stolen from him. And so Jared Kushner, at least here, would have testified, to the January 6th committee. He did testify to the January 6th committee. And so if he didn't testify consistently before the grand jury in Washington, D.C., where Special Counsel Jack Smith is presenting evidence, to me, that would be a lie. Here, play this clip of Jared Kushner before the January 6th committee. Play this clip.
I heard my phone ringing, turned the shower off, saw it was Leader McCarthy, who I had a good relationship with. He told me he was getting really ugly over at the Capitol and said, please, anything you could do to help, I would appreciate it. I don't recall specific asks, just anything you could do. Again, I got the sense that, they were scared.
They meaning Leader McCarthy and people on the Hill because of the violence?
He was scared, yes.
Here is Jared Kushner before the January 6th committee talking about the scene during the January 6th insurrection. Here, play this clip.
President Trump's campaign manager, Bill Stepien, House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy, and Jared Kushner had advised Donald Trump to encourage mail-in voting by Republicans, President Trump did not do so.
Yeah, I just remember generally, you had people arguing that we had a very, very robust get out the vote effort, and that, mail-in ballots could be a good thing for us if we looked at it correctly.
There was one meeting that was had in particular. I invited Kevin McCarthy to join the meeting, he being of like mind on the issue with me, in which we made our case for why we believed mail-in voting not to be a bad thing for his campaign. But the president's mind was made up.
I'm excited to tell you about something that I've been supplementing with. High MGO raw Manuka honey. The best tasting honey on the planet comes from New Zealand. It's called Manuka honey, and it's made by a company called Manukora. See, this honey is different because the bees are feeding on the nectar of the Manuka tea tree, making a super honey that has a rich and creamy texture that's just unlike anything you've ever tried before. It's called a super honey because of a unique combination of the antioxidants and prebiotics, including a natural antibacterial compound called MGO that only comes from the nectar of this Manuka tree. Now, I've tried the MGO 850 plus grade Manukora honey, and it's unlike anything I've ever tasted before. It contains nutrients that support optimal immune and digestive health. It was savory and delicious and, well, dare I say, the best honey I've ever tasted. Every batch is 100% traceable with a unique QR code on every jar. You can verify potency, purity, and even learn about the specific beekeeper that harvested your honey. How cool is that? I tried it straight from the spoon and it was delicious by itself. But you can also add it to tea, coffee, pancakes, yogurt, whatever you want. The creamy caramel texture melts in your mouth. And like I said, it's unlike anything I've ever had before. Manukora's honey is available in a range of easy-to-use formats, including squeeze bottles and compostable honey sticks, so you can eat it straight or add it to your favorite foods and drinks. If you head to manukora.com/Meidas or use code Meidas, you'll automatically get a free pack of honey sticks with your order, a $15 value. That's manukora.com/Meidas or use code Meidas to get a free pack of compostable honey sticks with your order. You haven't tasted or seen honey like this before, so indulge and try some honey with superpowers from Manukora.
And here's Jared Kushner before the January 6th committee stating that he was really just so busy during that time that he doesn't really remember a lot. He was so focused on running the pardon office within the White House at the time. He was responsible for pardoning all of the criminals who were part of Donald Trump's criminal conspiracy. Here, play this clip.
I kind of, like I said, my interest at that time was on trying to get as many pardons done.
The level of corruption here is so astounding. I mean, you have Jared Kushner and Ivanka, who worked in the White House in government positions, who made over $600 million while they were in the White House, got preferential treatment and trademarks from China. When Jared Kushner left the office, he was given $2 billion by the Saudi Arabian Sovereign Wealth Fund. You have the leader of Saudi Arabia, MBS, stating that he has Jared Kushner in his pocket and Kushner will do whatever he wants Kushner to do, that he received also an enemies list as well from the United States while he had this relationship with Kushner. I mean, you have Jared Kushner who's not even able to secure a security clearance, given all of these massively important positions, making life or death decisions, ultimately causing death of the American people. It is so utterly despicable. And for Jared Kushner to go before the grand jury that Special Counsel Jack Smith is providing evidence to and reportedly tell the grand jury that it was his impression that Donald Trump truly believed the election was stolen, well, I've got something to sell you, okay? And I think, though, here that one of the things that Special Counsel Jack Smith may be just wanting to develop as well is the credibility of witnesses who may testify in Donald Trump's favor, like a Jared Kushner, just to be able to dismantle them when they eventually take the stand, basically lock in their testimony now, the same thing we would do in civil cases when a deposition is being taken, just so you ultimately know what they are going to say. And by the way, if it's determined that Jared Kushner was lying here and that Jared Kushner's impressions were not this, and there's lots of other testimonies suggesting that Trump clearly was aware, and common sense suggests Trump was aware, perhaps there'll be ramifications for Jared Kushner. The article goes on to say that there were numerous other individuals who worked at the White House who have testified before the grand jury as well. Among them is Alyssa Farah Griffin, White House Communications Director in the days after the 2020 election, repeating an account she provided last year to the January 6th committee. She told prosecutors when she went before the grand jury and Special Counsel Jack Smith that Trump had said to her in the days after the election, "Can you believe that I lost to Joe Biden?" Quote, "In that moment, I think Trump knew that he lost when he said, 'Can you believe I lost to Joe Biden?'" Miss Griffin's lawyer, Charles J. Cooper, declined to comment. And so if Donald Trump is saying that to Alyssa Farah Griffin, he's clearly saying that to his daughter, Ivanka. He's clearly saying that to Jared Kushner. But this is big news, folks, that Jared Kushner testified before the grand jury. I think these grand jury proceedings, based on everything we've heard recently, appear to be wrapping up. I think we're at a similar time frame where a recommendation for Donald Trump to be indicted on multiple counts for the January 6th insurrection itself, for the fake elector criminal scheme, for money laundering, as well as campaign finance violations and wire fraud, for threats and extortion to local and state election officials, as well as for criminal conspiracies to steal election data from local election offices. I think we'll see all of that in a massive indictment that I believe Special Counsel Jack Smith will be seeking an indictment from the jury, and ultimately Donald Trump will be charged. And I think we see that fairly soon. And don't forget, you got Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis before a grand jury there. Expect criminal indictments in Fulton County, Georgia. We've reported and we now learn that in Arizona, the AG there is investigating Donald Trump. I believe in Michigan, there is an investigation as well taking place. Of course, you have the New York Attorney General civil case. You've got the Manhattan District Attorney felony criminal case for falsification of business records. So a lot going on, folks. Stay tuned. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. And wherever you get audio podcasts, subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast. Have a great day.
Hey, Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.